Next, on Currents News, reviving hope for peace in Lebanon. Pope Francis meets with Christian leaders from the country. Plus, President Biden visits the site of the deadly building collapse in Surfside, Florida, pledging help for the region.
So we're not going anywhere.
This as the House passes the president's $715 billion infrastructure bill. And bringing new life to a historic space.
We made the decision to use this as an anchor for the Catholic community in Williamsburg.
An exclusive look into an opera hall meant to evangelize through the arts. The Holy Father meeting with Christian and community leaders from Lebanon as the country deals with political, economic, and humanitarian crises. The day of prayer, which began with silent reflection inside St. Peter's Basilica, is not meant to find any political solution, but to revive hope and peace for Lebanon. Good evening, I'm Christine Persichetti. The highly anticipated meeting with the Pope and the leaders of Lebanon comes amid fears that the country is on the brink of collapse. That could prove disastrous for people of faith there, as Lebanon hosts the largest Christian population in the Middle East. Currents News' Emily Drooby talks with Lebanese Catholics here in Brooklyn who hope the Pope's meeting can make a difference.
While standing in Our Lady of Lebanon Maronite Cathedral in Brooklyn, Father Dominique HANNA prays for his former home, Lebanon. The country is in crisis. On Thursday, Pope Francis met with Lebanese Christian leaders, which inspired hope.
It makes me feel that the Pope cares a lot for Lebanon, and he cares for the Christians of Lebanon.
Lebanon is going through a severe economic crisis that started in 2019, worrying many with loved ones still in the country.
It's a free fall economically, and apparently is the worst crisis for, they're saying since the 1800s, so.
Inflation is through the roof following government corruption since the end of the civil war in the country.
If you have a family of 4 a year ago making $100 a month in Lebanon, they're making $10 a month today. And that's not because they're not working, it's because of the tragic decisions of the government or lack of government.
Bishop Gregory MANSOUR of the Eparchy of St. Maron of Brooklyn saw this firsthand. He just got back from a trip to Lebanon. The crisis made worse by the pandemic and by 2020's massive explosion in Beirut. 190 dead, 300,000 left homeless, and billions in damage. A country that needs support. That's what makes this summit so powerful to Lebanese people around the world, including here in Brooklyn. In Rome, it was a day of prayer, reflection, and discussions. Pope Francis meeting behind closed doors with the leaders who represented various churches, discussing the crisis and how religion can help. Providing support is crucial.
If we lose the special nature of Lebanon, a Christian-Muslim conviviality, we can forget about Christians in the Middle East.
The day concluded as Pope Francis and the 10 leaders gathered at St. Peter's Basilica to pray for Lebanon. In Brooklyn Heights, Emily Drooby, Currents News.
Later in this newscast, we speak to a priest whose church was directly affected by that Beirut blast. Now, close to a year later, he says the parish is stronger than ever. That's coming up on Currents News. Also tonight, the desperate search paused in Surfside, Florida, amid dangers of another collapse. President Biden is offering help to the shattered community.
I think I have the power, and we'll know shortly that to be able to pick up 100% of the cost.
Currents News with the latest on when the rescue efforts will resume. Devices monitoring cracks inside the Champlain Towers South went off, prompting the pause in search and rescue efforts. The fire chief says the alarms mean there was some expansion in the cracks and a column moved almost a foot. But despite the tireless efforts of first responders, they have not been able to identify one cause of the collapse. 18 people are dead, 145 still unaccounted for in the collapse as engineers determine if the area is safe for the work to resume. President Joe Biden meets with crews and families. Nadia Romero has the latest from Surfside, Florida, as the president attempts to console victims of this tragedy.
I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
President Joe Biden offering his gratitude to the first responders and rescue teams in Surfside, Florida, recognizing the painstakingly difficult challenges ahead.
I promise you, we know. What you're doing here is incredible.
The president's visit coming 1 week after the partial collapse of the Champlain Towers South condominium building.
We're not going anywhere.
Thank you,
No,
Mr. President.
for real.
The president also offering his support to the families, meeting with them in private. His visit comes as officials were forced to halt their recovery efforts over fears that the rest of the tower could fall.
A large column hanging from the structure that could fall and cause damage to the support columns in the subterranean garage area.
Concerns about the structural integrity of the building, as well as questions about potential warning signs in the years and months leading up to the tragedy, will be front and center for investigators, as experts say it could take months or even years to get to the bottom of what happened. For now, the focus is on those anxiously waiting for more clarity on their loved ones, and for those survivors who say they know just how lucky they truly are.
And I'm okay because I don't break a leg, I don't make nothing. Terrified, of course, crying, of course, and I'm still crying for all the people.
In Surfside, Florida, Nadia Romero, Currents News.
Meantime, new video has surfaced of the moments right before and right after the deadly collapse. Water can be seen pouring into the garage underneath the building moments before it came down. Inspectors said the area needed repairs years ago. And this video shows the dust and rubble right after the building fell. The National Institute of Standards and Technology will be launching only the 5th investigation of this kind in the agency's history. It may be years before there are answers. Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Miami has been helping with relief efforts. If you'd like to help them with their continued efforts, you can donate on their website, ccadm.org. The House passed President Biden's transportation and water infrastructure bill. The Invest in America Act focuses on repairing roads and bridges along with transit and rail systems. The $715 billion bill would also ensure clean drinking water. All but 2 Republicans voted against the measure. Democrats hope to use the legislation to negotiate specific policy proposals from last week's bipartisan agreement. After initially botching the count, the New York City Board of Elections released updated numbers on the Democratic mayoral primary. Right now, those results still show Eric Adams with a slim lead, with just under 15,000 more votes than Catherine Garcia. Maya Wiley's close behind. Yesterday, the board mistakenly included 135,000 test ballots in the ranked choice voting tally. It could still be a few weeks before we know the final results, as nearly 125,000 absentee ballots have yet to be counted. A new arts center is opening up in Williamsburg in the same spot as the Diocese of Brooklyn's newest church. The center, which is a former opera house, is a space meant to evangelize through the arts. Currents News' Emily Drooby got an exclusive look inside and has more.
So we wanted to restore it.
A hidden piece of history in Williamsburg.
It is over 100 years old.
Built in 1897, it's one of the first opera houses in Brooklyn. Soon people will fill these seats again. The Diocese of Brooklyn has restored this theater to its former glory.
So the scenes would drop down from up there.
Currents News was given an exclusive tour.
It's the original floor, it's the original door, and that's the selling point to a lot of people, that the history is still here.
From the letters above the stage to the intricate carvings that surround the ceiling, the integrity of the opera house preserved in the details. Bringing it back to its former glory took 5 years. It's part of a restoration project spearheaded by Monsignor Anthony Hernandez and supported by Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio.
We made the decision to use this as an anchor for the Catholic community in Williamsburg.
An anchor and a tool. The Opera House, part of what will be a new cultural center for the Diocese of Brooklyn.
Through the arts, we can evangelize to the local neighborhood.
It's called the Emmaus Center, the intention to spread God's word through the arts in one of the city's most creative neighborhoods, Williamsburg, a community where art is more than a hobby or a job, it's a way of life. Craig Tubiolo is the executive director.
We're going to reach people where they are and plant that seed and reignite the faith in this community in Williamsburg.
Located above the newly dedicated St. Peter and Paul Church, the thought behind it to evangelize the people of Williamsburg through something they hold dear.
We'll use the theater, the concerts, the arts to draw people into the building and hopefully start a conversation about the faith as well.
A unique approach catered to the neighborhood. Monsignor Jamie Gigantiello says it couldn't have happened without Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio.
From the day he came to this diocese, was always big on the new evangelization. When he heard about the concept here, he was all for it, and he put, everything behind it.
A unique blend of old and new Brooklyn and a cool new way to evangelize. They'll start holding events here at the Emmaus Center in fall of this year. In Williamsburg, Brooklyn, Emily Drooby, Currents News.
That's exciting. There's a lot more news headed your way.
Some people were praying within the church. It's a miracle that they stayed alive.
The Beirut blast destroyed that church, but it never closed its doors. We'll find out how they survived. Plus, a church arsonist may be on the loose in Canada. Another suspicious fire on a holy building. Why this one is particularly heartbreaking. That was the cargo ship explosion that rocked the city of Beirut just 11 months ago. Back now to our top story, the crisis in Lebanon. Many buildings and homes were destroyed by that blast, including St. Joseph's Catholic Church. But now, thanks to aid to the church in need, the parish is back stronger than ever. Father Gabriel Kairala, chaplain of St. Joseph's Church, joins us now. And Father, how badly was the church damaged after the blast, and how were you able to rebuild so quickly?
The church was, like all the buildings around, because the church is one kilometer far from the port. So the roof has been moved and the basis of the church has moved. It's a miracle that it didn't fall on our heads. Of course, windows, all the glasses, the doors, everything was exposed. Some banks also has just flied. And the main door of the church has been broken. It's a 140 years old door has been broken. Some people were praying within the church. It's a miracle that they stayed alive. I was in my office behind the church confessing someone. 4 big windows fall on his head, and strictly speaking, he had no wound. So everything was very roughly damaged. But thanks God, nobody was wounded, nobody was hurt, nobody was killed.
That is a miracle. And I understand you kept your masses going every day and still provided food for parishioners. How were you able to pull that off among all the rubble?
First of all, thanks to the generosity of our friends abroad, like ACA and Aid to Church in Need, who were very, very quick to respond to our needs, but also the people of the church, the scouts, the young people, the friends of the church, they all came and said, "We want to help you cleaning, Father." So we just moved our hand and we start to clean. And in the lobby of the church, we start to give food to people in need. We were in the dust, we were working on the glasses, people were cleaning, people were cooking food, people were serving food, just among the second day of the blow up.
Wow.
It was a lot of solidarity and share. A lot of people from the parish came to share with the others food, furniture, medicine, clothes.
Wow, that's so nice to hear. As we've been reporting, Lebanon is in the middle of an economic and political crisis. Talk about what you're experiencing every day there.
The country is going through a big crisis, and this crisis is really increasing. Prices has been 10 or 12 times higher. We have a crisis of gasoline. There's no gasoline in the market. We have no electricity, and people are getting poorer and poorer. So the country is collapsing. I don't like to talk politics, but to say one thing, that the government is not responding to the people. But there is something that is not collapsing, the solidarity of the churches. most of the parishes and most of Catholic and even non-Catholic NGOs are working in solidarity, hand in hand together, to come and to serve the people, poor people mainly, and in a kind of relief.
And as you know, Pope Francis is meeting with religious leaders from Lebanon at the Vatican. What do you hope is the outcome of that meeting?
I mean, first of all, I would like a message of hope for the Lebanese, because our mental health is tired. There has been not justice for the poor, for example. So we need a strong message of hope. We need, let's say, a strong message for our political leaders who are corrupt, who are indifferent to the life of the daily life of the people. And we need also a kind of bridge with the Muslims, our Muslims brothers. And I think the Pope can, and we Christians, we can be the bridge with our Muslims brother. So we need to say to our Muslim brothers, this is our country. We want with you Sunni and Shia. We want to build it together. We are brothers. We are the citizens of the same country. Let's build it together. And we need this kind of strong message from the Vatican, message of fraternity, solidarity, and hope.
Absolutely, a wonderful message. Father Gabriel Kairala, chaplain of St. Joseph's Church in Beirut, thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Aid to the Church in Need is still accepting donations to help Christians in Lebanon. Just go to the organization's website, churchinneed.org, to donate. More remains of Indigenous people have been found in Canada. The remains of 182 people discovered in unmarked graves at the former St. Eugene's Mission School in British Columbia. The discovery adds to a rising tally of grave sites across Canada. Last week, the remains of 751 people were found near a school in Saskatchewan. And in late May, officials uncovered a mass grave containing the remains of over 200 children at another former residential school run by the Catholic Church and later the Canadian government. The discovery comes as Canadian police investigate the destruction of a 100-year-old church in Alberta. According to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, St. Jean Baptiste Church in Morinville caught fire early Wednesday morning. The historic building was completely destroyed, and authorities are ruling the fire as suspicious. The Archbishop of Edmonton is urging people not to jump to conclusions.
We don't even know what caused the fire at this stage. We've got to be really careful about drawing conclusions too quickly. But it's happening in that broader cultural context right now when people are acutely aware of the relationships that do exist between the church and Indigenous peoples.
Also Wednesday, a fire broke out at St. Kateri Tekakwitha Church in Nova Scotia. Thankfully, it was put out before it could cause any damage. These incidents are the latest in a string of church fires in Canada. Last month, 4 Catholic churches on Indigenous land burned down. Pope Francis wants us to make friends.
Me gustaría proponer a todos ir más allá de los grupos de amigos y construir la amistad social, tan necesaria para la buena convivencia.
The pontiff asks that for the month of July, we pray for social friendship and that in times of conflict, we may be courageous architects of dialogue. He says it's especially important to reach out to the most impoverished and vulnerable. Still to come on Currents News, it was debated by U.S. bishops at their spring meeting, and our Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio was there. Now he's here to weigh in on the Eucharist document they're drafting. Stay with us. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. A committee of bishops are currently toiling away, trying to draft a document about the Eucharist that caused more than 2 hours of debate among bishops at their spring meeting. Here to talk about the back and forth discussions is the Bishop of Brooklyn, Nicholas DiMarzio. He sits down with former Tablet editor Ed Wilkinson for this week's Into the Deep. Ed.
Thank you, Christine. And we're going to talk with Bishop DiMarzio today about a recent vote that took place at the bishops' meeting. Bishop, you had the spring meeting of bishops. I guess it was done virtually again this
Right.
year. But there was a lot of talk about this document on the Eucharist that the bishops have voted to produce. And some people are making it out to be a political document, whether or not that pro-abortion politicians should be able to receive communion. Is that what this document is all about?
No, it's not about that. Unfortunately, the press took it and ran with it because they were always looking for controversy. And there's only one part of it that would discuss worthiness for communion. Now, actually, we did a document very similar in 2005 and 6, where it was very clear, going right through the 10 Commandments, of who should be examine their conscience before they go to communion. On all the issues that would be just take the commandments and you'll see, thou shalt not kill. Well, obviously, abortion and euthanasia are there, death penalty. Every issue is there. But that wasn't the real purpose of the document. The purpose is, again, to restore understanding of the Eucharist. Two things happened. The virus. People have not gone to church. They've stayed home. They've looked at it on TV. A great drop in mass attendance, understandably so. Many bishops saying, well, will people come back? Coupled with the fact that the recent polls have said that people really don't believe in the Eucharist as we should as Catholics, that it really is the body and the blood of Jesus Christ, that transubstantiation takes place, that what we look at is not what it really is. So the accidents are there, but the substance is different. This is the teaching of the church for centuries now, and it always has been. We take Jesus at his word. This is my body, this is my blood. This is what he said.
Yeah.
That's what he meant. Unfortunately, the Reformation was fought over this, that they said, no, that's not, it's symbolic. And so we've kept that tradition all this time. So that was the real reason for it. And it got lost in the shuffle there of the politicization of the whole thing.
What was the discussion among the bishops like when they were talking about this document? Did they bring up the politics involved?
Very few did really bring the politics up. They brought up the necessity of some kind of a document to encourage our people to teach them in ways that are understandable, how to understand this doctrine of the church. It's not that easy. It's a mystery, clearly, and it's hard to explain mysteries. And that was more of the discussion that was going on. It wasn't the political issue. It was always there for some people, but that again wasn't I signed the document saying we shouldn't discuss it at this meeting. We needed more time to work on it, which probably was true because you saw what happened, that we were split.
Yeah.
And but again, I did vote for that the document should go forward, but we didn't have any choice at that point. So we needed more of a synodal approach, which means a consensus approach. We've been used to basically a parliamentary system, up and down votes and raise your hand. That doesn't work in the church anymore. I mean, this is what the Holy Father's been telling us. Come together, iron out your differences, come to a consensus that brings unity. And that's the next step we need to learn. It's not going to be easy to learn.
And the Holy Father sent the message to the bishops pretty much saying, go slow on this political thing, right?
And also, maintain your unity, come to consensus. And that's what wasn't heard.
Do you think we could have a document that just leave politics out of it completely and just center on the teaching of the Eucharist?
The politics won't be there, but there will be a section that talks about people being worthy to receive the Eucharist, examining themselves, not that we are going to excommunicate anybody. They need to understand what the Eucharist is and why sometimes you would not receive the Eucharist because of any sin that you hasn't been forgiven.
Okay, Bishop, thanks so much for clearing that up a little bit. Back to you, Christine.
Thanks, Ed and Bishop DiMarzio. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.